Culture swap.
Swap my culture.
Listeners, this time, because Liam's going to Canada and we were in a bit of a rush and we need to do something short, we thought, hey, a film came out, Cloverfield Paradox. Let's watch that.
Yep.
So we did.
Now, we should talk about the big kind of talking point with the Cloverfield Paradox, right?
What is the big talking point?
How it... So, right, let's take a spin.
Oh, just before Liam gets started, listeners, anyone that has not seen this film and wants to, this will be filled with spoilers. So...
Here we go.
Bye.
Let's go back to the beginning. Cloverfield came out, and do you remember the marketing around that, where like the film didn't really have an official title? They just gave the release date and...
Yep.
Right. Then they had 10 Cloverfield Lane, where that kind of was just kind of snuck out with... Like, I think the first trailer came out 2 months before the release of the film, which is really unlike big budget movies, because they normally have trailers for fucking ages. Listeners, if you want to know our thoughts on 10 Cloverfield Lane, we have reviewed it in the past, and that video is available on our YouTube channel if you just want to hear our thoughts on 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Look at that, cross-promotion.
Go look that
with ourselves.
It's a 3 minute 20 video, so we got into it.
Wow, clearly.
And now you've got the Cloverfield Paradox, where the trailer for it came out 2 hours before the film was released on Netflix. Yep. So that's the big talking point, was the whole marketing thing, basically.
Yeah, no, it's impressive.
Well, is it though?
Yeah, it is. And I think you should be more impressed with that marketing strategy.
Why?
Because they're doing the very thing that you insist that all movies do, which is surprise you. Like you said, no big budget films don't do this.
No. The problem, actually, before we go into the film, you said earlier that you think you know how I think about it, and I think I know how you think about it. So we're going to do a little role play.
Just a very quick hint to the listeners: one of us is definitely wrong. The other one might be wrong.
All right, here we go. So do you want to go first, or should I go first?
You go first, Liam. How do you think I felt about this film?
Just get into the character. I loved it. It was space. Space and shit. It's so good. It's brilliant. Sci-fi and space. I love it.
Inaccurate.
4 out of 5.
Inaccurate.
What do you think I thought of it?
Oh, it's so boring. Why do they do this? This is a rubbish film. I don't like it.
Out of 5?
I reckon you will have given it... See, I want to say 1, but I feel like you might have... I feel like I'm genuinely overestimating how much you didn't like it. So I think you'll probably have gone for a 2 to a 2.5.
Cool. Okay. Should we get into it then?
Yeah, sure. Let's get into it. Is that... We're just doing the predictions, then at the end we'll see if we were right.
Yeah.
I really loved it, Liam. It was full of space lasers and stuff.
Yeah?
That's not true. No.
No?
Right. What do you want to... how are we going to do this? What are we going to talk about? Let's talk about what happens in the film, right? Let's do a very brief summary.
Brief synopsis. There is a spaceship in space.
Yep, space station.
Yeah, there are people on it, and they're trying to get this energy thing working, because we're running out of energy on Earth. It's set in the year 2028, I believe, and... Oh, no. Bear in mind, right, that the events of Cloverfield happened in 2008, so this movie is set 20 years after the events of Cloverfield, right? And I read the trivia for it, which J.J. Abrams was like, I have a timeline where it all connects and it all makes sense. Doesn't make sense to me at the moment, whatever. In the year 2028, after the events of Cloverfield... I'm so excited.
I'm going to blow your fucking mind, Liam. Carry
on. We're running out of energy on Earth. They want to have this like sustainable energy source, so they've gone up to space to fire what is, at one point in the film, referred to as a Higgs boson laser, I think.
Well, it's called Shepard.
Yeah.
It's a particle accelerator that is accelerating Higgs boson particles.
Right. Okay. And it's so dangerous that they have to do it in space. And they do it, and what happens is the movie basically goes, I like Alien, and I like Event Horizon, and I like a lot of other just generic space station-y movies, so let's just kind of take the best bits of all those and chuck them into this film and see what happens.
Well, see, what you did there, Liam, was you jumped from the synopsis to your opinions, which is different, because the opinions I agree with you on. But the synopsis of the film is, what happens is they fire the laser, which jumps them into it. Shut up! It jumps them into a different timeline.
Different dimension.
And in that timeline, the space station crashed into Earth, and everyone died, and the world has fallen apart. So they've got to get back to their own timeline, and weird space shit happens.
Keep saying timeline, but in the film, they specifically say dimension.
Yeah, sorry, dimension. That's effectively what alternate timelines are.
Okay. And I think at one point in the film they do also touch upon multiverse, but like literally I think
but there's a point in the film where they say that it's not just the two dimensions colliding.
Yeah.
But at the point they fire the thing, every dimension is sort of ripped apart a little bit, and they're all fighting to be in the same space or something.
Yeah. There's some big names in it as well, like Daniel Bruhl. He's in some great movies, particularly Rush with Chris Hemsworth. It's so good. If you like, I don't even really like Formula One racing, but this movie is just really good. He was in. He's a big name actor. Is the point I'm trying to get across? He's in Captain America: Civil War. So
cool.
Chris
O'Dowd's in it.
Yeah, he's actually in a few like big Hollywood films for some reason. I don't know why.
It's because I like Chris O'Dowd.
I like him, but I don't know
he's a very one note character. Like he's definitely typecast as, and he plays that character in this.
Yeah, like I don't get how he was in Molly's Game. I don't get how he was in Bridesmaids, but I don't mind that he was.
Yeah, I like it. I genuinely, I think he's funny.
Yeah, he was in Thor: The Dark World.
Yep.
I mean, I kind of know him predominantly for the IT crowd.
That's where I think most people would probably have got their initial O'Dowd feel.
Yeah. I don't think his character worked brilliantly in this. A couple of the humour bits worked, and then a couple just fell a bit flat for me.
Yeah, see, I like half the movie, the jokes he was making to me just did not fit the film at all, and I was like, there was a moment where I was like, I really wish they hadn't put him in it because the humour's just not working, and I don't get it. Yeah. There was then a moment where, which is ridiculous. Like, this is the thing. This is not a great film, but some of the jokes and bits sort of work. Like the bit where he gets his arm stuck. The idea is that because they've come to this other dimension, the dimension is trying to like kill them effectively because they shouldn't be there. So at one point, the ship sucks his arm in and then cuts it off without him feeling any pain.
Yeah.
Which is its whole own thing. That all happens. But then later on, his arm crawls back to them and writes a message.
Yeah, and I didn't get that at all.
It's so weird, but I do love the line he says, which is, it's something like, we found the gyroscope, and it's all thanks to my arm. And it's just this weird moment. But it did make me laugh. And I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of...
Yeah, I agree. There was like one line he had that was good. The whole, even if, like, I don't get how the arm thing works. If you look at the whole alternate dimension thing or whatever, I still don't get how that explains the arm stuff. So
it doesn't. The cool. Arm thing is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like, most of the stuff that happens doesn't make sense with the story they're giving us.
No.
The logic behind it is that there's all these alternate universe things happening. So I think at that point his arm is meant to be controlled by some kind of alternate dimension.
Right.
And that just, for some reason, is helping them.
Dumb.
It's honestly weird, and it doesn't make sense.
Also, going back to like big names in it, you've got David Oyelowo. David Oyelowo. Oh, hang on. Oyelowo. Thank you, IMDb. David Oyelowo.
Yep.
Who's in stuff like Selma, A United Kingdom. He's like a proper, or I at least consider him as like a proper serious actor.
Yeah.
He was in Interstellar.
He plays that in this.
Yeah.
And he does well.
Yeah. Do you think that the studio behind this, I think it was Paramount or whatever, they sort of were like, right, let's do a 10 Cloverfield Lane where we have a script and then we squeeze a bit of Cloverfield in it so we can get the budget to make it. And then they made it and they went, oh, it's not great, let's just stick that on Netflix.
Let's not talk about that now, because that leads into a whole other thing that I genuinely want to talk about because I think it's interesting. But, so, before we get into that, let's deal with, because like I said, this is not a good film. Like, it's a average at best movie. Like you said,
I found it average. I didn't hate it. I saw so much negativity about it, and I was surprised that it wasn't more like insufferable. It was just
it definitely doesn't deserve the hate it's been getting.
No, it's average, and at times, yes, a bit dull.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot of the stuff is like you said. There's so many like references, or not even references. They're just things that happen in other films.
Yeah,
you're like,
it's really derivative.
There's a scene where the Russian guy Volkov gets like. They do some interesting stuff where he's being taken over by something. And
I really liked the thing that they did with his eye.
Yeah, because it's really creepy.
Yeah.
Like, he's looking in a mirror and one of his eyes just flicks to the other side. And there's this... It's like genuinely like kind of horrifying because I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, that would be horrible. Like,
yeah, and he's clearly got something wrong with his eye. He keeps touching it and stuff.
Yeah.
So it builds up to it, and then that happens, and you're like, oh, that's grim.
And then he tries to like force it back into place.
Yeah,
which is just this horrifying, like, that is the kind of thing you do, and I would not like that at all.
But equally, I think they kind of set up what was going on really obviously, so it was not a surprise when you find out what happens.
Well, I don't know if they were setting up. I don't know how obvious it was that it was. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, because he's like, where have all the worms gone?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they are pretty much telegraphing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically he dies and then
it's very Alien.
Out. It's literally the scene from Alien, except instead of a chest burster coming out of his chest, he throws up worms.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's good, but it's Alien. So like, I don't know. It is very. And that him as well, that's very Event Horizon-y, like he's going insane and trying to kill people. One
of the things that I thought was cool, I don't think they did a particularly good job with it, but cool, was where, again, it's fairly early on, after they've done the whole dimension jumping thing, there's this weird noise coming from inside the wall.
Yeah.
And they peel like the wall off, or like, I don't know, they
open it up, they like bust open a wall.
Yeah, and there's this like woman who's all impaled with wires and stuff, and she's just screaming. Oh, that was cool. I thought they absolutely wasted that character, and it was just really shit what they did with her. But that reveal, I thought, was kind of interesting.
Yeah, because the reveal, again, like, it's annoying, because this film isn't scary, and it isn't particularly creepy, but it has moments where you're like, oh, I could see this being like a good upsetting film if they had not fucked it up later.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like that scene is, again, another scene where like they're having to cut her out and her fingers are like merged with wires.
Yeah.
And she's just screaming as they cut her out. And like, that's horrifying.
Yeah, and then she gets better real quick.
She does. They give her growth stimulant.
Yeah, I know, but it still was just a bit shit.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that is their logic behind it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Again, they do a bunch of stupid stuff. They then justify it in the film, but those justifications, you're sort of like...
Still shit.
Yeah, you can't just say, we've given her magic healing stuff and now she's healed.
And like the whole idea of like, okay, we're in space, we can see Earth, something happens, and now we can't see Earth, and we're just lost in space. That's terrifying. But I don't think they really like made enough of that. If you know what I mean.
But even then, like my logic behind that was, I don't know, because I guess they could be in the same. But I guess the idea was that the Earth wasn't in sync with them, because like either they jumped right,
yeah,
and the ship moved to the other side of the sun,
yeah,
or they jumped and in the second universe the Earth was in a different place. Like, as in on the opposite side of the sun. Because that's what it ends up being, listeners. They've lost the Earth. Turns out the Earth was on the other side of the sun.
Which would make sense if they kind of did a time thing, right?
Yeah, but they sort of don't.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Okay, so...
I mean, because if the Earth's on the other side of the sun, it doesn't have to be a big time jump, does it? It would have to be, like, what, 6 months?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here's the thing. So, it starts to touch on the stuff that I want to talk about a little bit.
Okay.
Which is, basically... So, this is what I text Tom. So basically, I loved Cloverfield. It's like one of my favourite films.
I really like Cloverfield too.
It's such a good film. It was early on enough in the handheld films that it wasn't outdone yet.
Yeah.
It was really original.
If I remember rightly, we both liked 10 Cloverfield Lane, but I don't want to speak for you, but I know for me, the only thing I didn't particularly like about it was how they, at the end, had like 10 minutes where they just tried to cram it into the Cloverfield universe.
Yes. So basically, me and my friend Tom were both, when Cloverfield came out, we got like hugely into it, like including the ARG that had come out around the film.
Yeah.
Like the Slusho, all the like these companies.
Do you want to explain what ARG is for anyone that maybe doesn't understand?
So basically, when they released Cloverfield, they released an augmented reality game.
Yeah.
Which
ARG.
is basically when some films and stuff come out, you'll find like sites online that are part of a game. Effectively, it was they had created the fictitious universe of Cloverfield and made companies in it that you could go and look at the sites, and that would lead to clues that would let you learn more. So one of the cool things about Cloverfield is a good film that stands up by itself, I think.
Yeah.
But it's also got this backstory that the film doesn't touch. The film's like, no, we're not giving you the backstory. We're giving you a monster movie just contained in this film. And if you want to go and see all this cool like backstory and this whole world, that's there. You can go find it.
I think the only thing that's like arguably hints at it maybe is that very last shot in Cloverfield as well that hints at something bigger's going on. Yeah,
because you're sort of like, oh, okay, there's more to this. That doesn't super make sense.
But also it's really easy to miss. You have to be looking for it almost.
I missed it in the cinema, I think.
Yes.
And then someone said to me afterwards, like, holy shit, there's this thing that happens.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that. Because that's the thing, is it's not shoved in your face. They're not being like, go learn more. They're just like, hey, it's there.
Yeah.
So what I texted my friend Tom, who also got into it and was hugely into the ARG stuff, as soon as I finished the film, I messaged him and I said, this is not a good movie, but it does add a whole load to the Cloverfield universe lore, and I like that. And 10 Cloverfield Lane is the opposite. It's a good film that doesn't add a whole lot to the Cloverfield lore.
So what does this add to the lore?
So basically, right, here we go, Liam.
Okay.
This is where it gets real good, in my opinion. You're probably going to hate it, because this is the kind of stuff I think you don't particularly like.
Probably.
Basically, the Shepherd Project, so this big thing that turns on and activates energy, right?
Yeah.
That breaks reality, and that echoes through time. They make a point of, at some point, they're saying, like, I can't remember what the line is, but someone says something that is like, oh, this doesn't just affect now. It's like, whoa, it's timey-wimey.
Yeah.
Right? So, at that point, there are 3 timelines. There's the one we're watching in Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah.
Where they leave.
Yeah.
There's 10 Cloverfield Lane. Actually, there's Cloverfield.
Yeah.
Basically, this sends back one of the creatures to the normal Cloverfield universe.
From where?
Okay. From where?
Yeah. You said like sends back. Like, what do you mean sends back?
So they haven't explained where the Cloverfield monsters come from yet. So that's all just theory. Like, there is stuff we know, and what?
I thought the first Cloverfield monster, right, in Cloverfield, came from the ocean.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
It comes from the ocean. It eats a thing on the floor of the ocean that basically can kill people, but is put in a drink called Slusho, which appears in all the Cloverfield films and most bad robot movies, including Star Trek. That there's like this whole thing about how that kills people if there's too much, which is what the parasites in the original film have. So they make people blow up when they bite them.
Yeah, which is really cool, that scene.
Yeah, that's such a good scene. Comes out of nowhere, very upsetting.
Yeah.
So basically, the theory is that they did this thing, and one of the monsters was like got put into our ocean, effectively.
Okay.
Right? Or perhaps they always existed on that Earth, and this thing brought them forward to these times.
Right.
Like, people don't really know. So there's that universe then gets a Cloverfield. You get the events of Cloverfield 1. 10 Cloverfield Lane. The not the main dude or the main girl, but the other guy in the bunker.
Yeah.
He says that he's talking about what he says he saw when the invasion started.
Yeah.
And what he saw was a blinding flash of red light from somewhere far away.
Yeah.
Which is a description of the Shepherd turning on.
Okay.
And so when that light flashes, it flashes across all the dimensions. So even the universes that don't have it, or are in different times, they see it, and that sends through the break into their world.
Okay.
And it also then has the 2 universes in Cloverfield Paradox, where it basically sends them into that universe and fucks up a bunch of universes, right?
Right.
So that's what it adds to this lore, is it explains how 10 Cloverfield Lane and Cloverfield 1 are connected better than they did.
Yeah.
Which is cool for me, because they did a shit job in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah. But does that explain this being set in the future then?
Yeah, so their logic is they're all set at different times, and the shockwave just hits at different times in different universes. It's not a great explanation, but it basically wraps up.
Because you do also see a little bit of Earth first kind of falling under the monster's, like, destruction.
Yeah, so this one also gets hit with, there's not just one monster on Paradox Earth.
Yeah.
Because there's a line where the guy's like, you can't send them back here, not with them here.
Yeah.
So, and in 10 Cloverfield Lane, there's an invasion of different aliens, not clovers.
Yeah, but equally, when he says them here, my mind first went to, you got a big monster in Cloverfield. It was dropping a load of little monsters off of it. So when it says them, it could.
So it could just be the parasites. But also, the monster in this film is bigger than original. It goes above the clouds.
Line. Yeah.
I think I watched a video of someone saying that it's, if not the biggest, one of the biggest monsters we've had in any monster movie. Yeah,
because I on the IMDb it's like, so I don't know where they got this information from, because I don't think it was in the film, but they were like, we have to assume that it's from the ocean, which means not only is it above the clouds, but a lot of its body would be submerged in water as well, so that's how big it is.
Yeah. I watched in the video, they were like, it's either on land where it's this height, or it's in the ocean, which means it's however much bigger.
Yeah.
Like, which is cool. I like seeing the monster again, because...
Yeah, I mean, it's a different monster.
Yeah, but it's it's the same species.
Yeah. I just, I like seeing it, but I kind of just I didn't like the fact that it was like you see it and that's it. Like, if you're going to show me a monster, let's see it. Let's see people dealing with it or something. Like, I don't just need to see a monster raw. That doesn't really excite me.
No, and that's fair. That's totally fair, and that's what I mean. Like, again, like, I don't think this is a good film particularly, and I just like that. Or I don't just like, but one of the main. That's the thing that while I was watching it, I was like, I'm enjoying the extra lore I'm getting.
Right. Okay.
But I'm not factoring that into my review of the film.
Yeah.
Because that's not fair. I'm not going to mark this film up because it added lore to a universe I like.
I mean, I think you could mark it up. If it is a reason why you enjoyed this film, it's valid.
But I don't think it is. I don't think it redeemed enough in the film. Like, those points aren't, like, huge plot points in the film. They're just things that while you're watching it, my brain was like, oh, I wonder if this is how they're getting around that thing they said.
But I think, because it's equally as valid to kind of do the reverse of that, where if you've read a book that you loved and then you watch the film and the film just doesn't compare to the book, because you're coming, it's like we discussed before, because you're coming with that knowledge of the book and almost having that knowledge is kind of spoiling the film for you, that is still a valid take to have, because it just means that the film isn't living up to the books. So the fact that this is adding for you is still a valid reason for you to be enjoying it.
I mean, I do feel like I'm going to give it a higher mark than you did, and it's not because of the bullshit reasons of I like space and stuff, because this didn't do a good job of that.
I think
so it probably did affect my score, even though I'm saying it didn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the thing is, not that long ago we had a movie come out called Life that I think you saw as well as I did.
Yeah, you showed me it, I think. Oh no, wait, I might have watched it at home. No, yeah.
I think I reviewed it, and then I think I maybe recommended it to you and you watched it.
Yeah.
And it's similar-ish, where it's people on a space station, but it's a bit different, where there's an alien that's, killing them. But I think they're so similar that it's fair to compare the two. And if you're going to watch one or the other, I do think Life is better than the Cloverfield Paradox.
See, as you said that, I was thinking, I mean, I don't really remember Life until you mentioned it.
It's very average. It's very, very average.
So, like, and for me, I don't think I'm ever going to watch Life again, really. Like, there's not, I might put it on at some point in the future where I've totally forgotten. I'm like, I'll rewatch this film.
Yeah.
Whereas I can see myself rewatching this film, not because I want to rewatch this film, but, like, this genuinely got me excited about that backstory again.
Yeah.
Which I haven't thought about.
I don't know if I'm right, but from what I'm hearing, the next Cloverfield movie is going to take place during World War II.
Yeah, it's either the day before or the day after D-Day.
Yeah. So if we're saying that basically the shepherd thing in the Cloverfield Paradox is what caused all of this, and it could feasibly span dimensions and time, that does explain how you're getting like a World War II Cloverfield movie.
Exactly. Right? It does, and it's
it's
maybe
not the best of explanations.
No, it isn't, and that's fair. And I do wish, like, I really hope we get a film that starts, like, I want there to be a film where they start to tie it all together more than they are, like an actual film that's like, look, now we're going to admit that lore exists, and we're going to deal with it.
Well, the thing is, if they do that, they would have to sit down and specifically write a movie to do that, right? Whereas it feels like what they've been doing with like 10 Cloverfield Lane, the Cloverfield Paradox, the World War II one, it feels like they've been taking scripts and then just going, if we add Cloverfield to it, we can get the funding to make this movie. Yeah,
which is what they've been doing. See,
and I'm okay with them doing that, but I would like them to then have an actual movie that they specifically write to address a lot of, like, tying it all in. Like, I would love to see a lot of the cast kind of return.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the good thing about what they're doing, which I actually like, is I wonder if they would have been able to make any more Cloverfield universe films if they hadn't done this.
Oh, probably not.
So I think that, because it always sounds so negative when it's like, oh yeah, and they're just sort of plopping Cloverfield in there, which it did feel like they did a lot more in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, because that's just like squeezed at the end. And
yeah,
I think that's why it's negative, is when it just feels tacked on.
Yeah, whereas at least in this,
they thread it through a bit better.
Yeah, the fact that the lore is spread throughout the film and then also sort of helps deal a bit with 10 Cloverfield Lane, like suddenly that film's lore has become a load more relevant in the world of the people that are trying to like decipher it all.
Yeah.
Like, because as well, like there's so many little things they added to this film, like the conspiracy theorist who is on the news, he is the guy from 10 Cloverfield Lane's brother.
Well,
they have the same last name.
They have the same last name, but yeah.
I mean, that's in the movie world, that's not really a coincidence.
No,
they didn't accidentally do it.
They might not necessarily be brothers if it's from a different dimension.
Yeah, they are different dimension versions, but that's a cool thread to add in, where it's like, look, we're acknowledging the other films and stuff. And the lady that played the newscaster is the woman that tried to get into the bunker in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah.
Like, there's all these little things where, like if you go on the Reddit and stuff, it's genuinely fascinating to read the thread talking about 10 Cloverfield Lane, because there's these people being like, holy shit, I don't know if you guys noticed, but that's the same actress. And then other people are like, oh, is it deliberate? Do we think this is a thing? And then, like, I find that interesting, like, reading other people trying to solve the universe.
It's almost like a conspiracy theory, in a way.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the stuff that happened with Donnie Darko. Like, it's not on the same level, but it's got that feel to it where you're all sort of figuring this out together.
And to tie this back, so you know how I said with You Were Never Really Here, some movies deliberately leave enough ambiguous so you can enjoy it. Like, Donnie Darko is a perfect example where it gives you sort of a percentage of the information you need, but then it takes a step back and is like, you can now fill in the blanks. Yeah, and I do like it when films do that.
Yeah, and it's also, I like it when it doesn't necessarily impact the film. Like we were saying about Cloverfield, like, if you don't look into the ARG around it, that film doesn't get worse.
Yeah.
Like, so I think that's a cool way to deal with it, where it's like, because that's the thing, is I feel like there are some people who, when Cloverfield Overlord, I think it's called, when that comes out, there are going to be a collection of people who are like, yes, I can't wait, and they're going to come out of it at the end, and no matter if the film's good or bad, they're going to have enjoyed an aspect of it, which is, what did it add to this universe?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to be like. That's how I was with this film. I didn't come out thinking, wow, I just spent the best 2 hours of my life, or hour and 45 minutes, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But, like, I did enjoy that I got to go back into this world and get more knowledge.
What I'm quite looking forward to, so you know how we were saying about the marketing, where you had like the first one where it just had the date, and then one where it was like 2 months, and this one was 2 hours. Yeah. I'm looking forward to, like, in the future when they'll do a Cloverfield movie that you've already seen before.
Dude, honestly, how cool would that be?
Where, like,
if you watch
a movie and then like 2 months later there's a trailer and it's just like, oh, by the way, that movie you watched 2 months ago was Cloverfield.
And then you go back and watch it and you're like, holy shit, it's so full of lore. How did I not notice?
Yeah.
How cool, that would be ballsy.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be done very carefully to be done right.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do it, but...
No, I think as soon as you saw
imagine if they turn around and they're like, Overlord, that was Saving Private Ryan.
And if you look at this scene, you can see there's a monster in the background.
Clover's actually been hidden in this film the whole time.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But yeah, like I feel like we've done a good talk there about it.
Yeah, I think so. Like we said, it's not the most exciting of films. Like, if you take out all of the lore stuff, there's bits that are a bit dull. And I think the other thing is none of the characters are massively likable.
They're not.
And that's
the main character, I didn't get her motives at all. Like the point where she wanted to go to the new Earth because her children were alive there. Yeah. Right? And then the other woman, oh fuck, I can't remember her name.
The blonde one.
Yeah.
I've got it.
Oh, Mina Jensen.
Yeah, Jensen. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jensen literally says to her, or no, it's not even Jensen. It's the captain, Keel.
Keel, yeah.
He goes to her. Yeah, but she's in this universe.
Yeah, no, but so the reason why she wanted to go there is because she was going, I know. If she's in that universe, she's going to make the same mistake I did that will end up with the kids dying. So she wanted to go there to warn her not to do that. Yeah,
but that's a bullshit argument, because then at the end, ridiculous. She sends her a message.
Yeah, which she should have done from the first. Yeah.
Like clearly she's lying to herself to be like, I just want to go see those kids. They're my kids.
Yeah. Well, maybe she wanted to kill her and then take her place.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just all like, I don't know. It just felt so.
It wasn't
maybe believable, but not the main character. The main character shouldn't be doing that.
No, that wasn't done well. And the other thing that I just didn't really get right is, so her like partner who's still on Earth, and we're seeing what looks like the events of Cloverfield through his eyes essentially. I get why they've included that, but they seem to like add more to it than was necessary. I don't think you needed him like saving a kid and then bunkering up with a kid, and like I just don't know why you'd add more to that storyline. Yeah, because it's so unresolved.
Yeah,
that just seemed odd to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, clearly his bits are the bits that have been most heavily like Cloverfield-ified.
Yeah,
where they were like, we need to just re-add in this story so we can get shots of the monster on Earth, shots of the monsters, like the carnage they've left, and him basically justifying that Cloverfield's there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and it did feel like those bits I could tell were added. And then, like, the fucking, like, oh, look, we're in a bunker, and it's very similar to the 10 Cloverfield Lane bunker. And you're like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, yeah. Just, it's a shame. Because it would be awesome if it was a good movie that also added good lore.
It would. Yeah, it's a shame that it was just so very average.
Yeah, which it is. That's...
Yeah.
And it's just an average film.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Out of 5?
2.5. It's a low 2.5.
That's fair enough. I give it a 3. We're close, but...
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm giving it slightly higher because I did love the
lore stuff, whereas I'm not that invested in it.
And honestly, if people haven't watched any Cloverfield stuff and want to, I'd recommend going and watching the original Cloverfield and then maybe looking into the lore a little bit and being like, oh, that's cool. And then if you like it, go watch the other 2.
I still think 10 Cloverfield Lane is worth watching because like 90% of that film is really good.
Yeah, that film.
There's probably a point in that film where you could stop it and it would be just as satisfying as watching like the last 10 minutes.
Yep, 100%. And like both the first Cloverfield film and 10 Cloverfield Lane both stand up by themselves, so they're worth watching even if you don't want to get into the lore. But if you're going to watch this film, that's when it definitely would make more sense to me to do it if you are into the Cloverfield lore.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at that, Liam.
We sort of agreed.
Yeah, I think we had a very pleasant discussion there.
Yeah. I wonder what our next discussion will be. No, I wonder if our next discussion will be as pleasant.
Oh god, I mean, I imagine it will be, but only because we're both going to be very confused.
Yeah. So the next episode
go on.
of Nerd on Nerd, Ellie, we're going to have another guest, aren't we?
We are. I don't know if our listeners will have heard any of his stuff. He was a podcast host for a while.
You guested on his podcast once.
I've guested on his podcast.
So I think the fans of Ellie, have we got a name for them yet? Was it the Elephants?
No, I'm letting them name themselves, and they're still in a very democratic way resolving what we're going to call ourselves.
All right, so the Elephants, if you're a real big fan, would have gone and listened to that episode, no doubt.
Oh yeah, probably. I don't remember what his podcast's called.
Laws of Wrestling.
Very good. Yeah. Laws of Wrestling.
I hope you keep that in because it actually makes me sound somewhat knowledgeable for once.
No, that's fair.
But then also keep in the bit about me bragging about how smart I am.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave it all in.
Good.
So we're going to be getting Sam Pryor, my good friend.
I've never met the guy.
You haven't?
Never even spoken to him.
It's going to be interesting. But he has suggested, or told us, because they don't suggest, they tell us what they're going to do for Culture Swap.
Yeah.
We're going to do the new WrestleMania
34. So, okay. You've obviously, you went on their podcast, so you know a bit about wrestling.
I've seen 4 wrestling matches from that podcast.
I used to watch it when I was like, I don't know, 12? Maybe 13. Maybe 14. But not beyond that. I watched I think it was called the Attitude Era, where you had like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, Triple H, all that sort of stuff happening.
Yeah.
But then, you know...
I like that you think I've got more wrestling experience than you. I didn't watch wrestling as a child.
Yeah, no, I did as a child, and then I grew up and stopped watching it.
Yeah, and then as an adult, I've watched 4 wrestling matches. I have experience in the games in that one of the things my group of friends would do was play wrestling games on the PS2.
Yeah.
So, like, I've played them, but the issue with that is I always picked Ultimo Dragon or Rey Mysterio because they wore the coolest outfits, and that's not how you're meant to do wrestling.
No. A lot of the outfits are very minimal.
Yeah, I mean, Ultimo Dragon wears a mask, but not much else.
When I was a young kid, we're talking like, I don't know, 7 or 8, I was really into like the classic wrestling, like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, all that sort of stuff.
See, I picture you being very into Stardust.
What's Stardust?
Oh, do you not know? Or Goldust, sorry, Goldust. Stardust is his new tag team name or some bullshit.
Wasn't Goldust not part of WWF, but it was part of like a rival wrestling organisation?
Yeah, but I think he then joined WWF.
Oh yeah, he did later on. But when I was watching...
Not that much later on.
Because
he was in WWF in your house.
The only way I know his name is because I had a wrestling game that was this like other wrestling network thing. And I think he was predominantly like, he was the cover figure for that one.
I mean, his first match in WWF was 1990, Liam, the year before I was born, so you were only 4 years old.
I don't know who the fuck he is then. I must be thinking
He's
of
the guy
someone
that
else.
wore the full, like, gold suit, like, skin-tight gold.
Who am I thinking of then?
I have no idea.
Goldberg? Is that one?
Oh, maybe that was a guy, I think.
Wrestler. I'm looking him up. Yeah, I was thinking of Goldberg.
Oh, Liam. You want Gold Dust. His old outfit was very you.
Do you remember Rikishi, I think his name was?
I remember the name. Was he the big guy?
Yeah, he had a move where he'd rub his bum in someone's face.
Fair enough. Basically, listeners, what we're saying is we don't know a whole lot about wrestling, so this is going to be an interesting episode.
I think the thing is, not only do we not know a lot about wrestling, I also don't care a lot about it.
I'm going to a fucking party.
Really?
To watch this. Yeah, because my friends... I've got a lot of friends who love wrestling, as proven by the guy that hosted a wrestling podcast who we're having on.
Yeah.
And they, watch WrestleMania together. So I think I'm going with a group of dudes to watch wrestling.
I don't know how to watch it, to be honest.
I might just get very drunk.
So yeah, wrestling.
It's going to be good. Sam, we're getting Sam to talk about wrestling.
I'm going to relive some of my childhood, maybe.
I think it's changed a lot since we used to watch it.
The thing is, I think they've made it tamer since when because the stuff I was watching, it was more like stunt work than wrestling. It got silly, where people were being flung off 21-foot high cages, and they were using thumbtacks a lot.
Oh yeah, why did they ever do that? Oh, that's just horrible.
It's brilliant because I loved all that stuff because I really like stunt work. I think because it was getting so violent, they had to start taming it down because they are a PG sort of event.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just going to find it really dull, maybe.
It'll be interesting to see.
The other thing, and I might be wrong, but from what I gather, WrestleMania is the culmination of quite lengthy storylines, usually, isn't it? So we're going to have matches of people competing and wrapping up these storylines that we ain't going to know shit about.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I mean, this is the perfect embodiment of Culture Swap, because the whole point of Culture Swap is for our guests to come around and share something that they're nerdy about with us. So I'm excited from that aspect. It's a 3-hour event?
Yeah.
Less excited about that.
I mean, we do the Super Bowl, that's longer.
Yeah, but I like the Super Bowl.
This is basically just the Super Bowl with cool outfits.
And more men touching each other.
Hell yeah.
So they normally have a good special guest. I think last year they had Ronda Rousey kind of appeared, and now she's actually been signed on to the WWE,
yeah.
I think.
She has, yeah.
WWE. So maybe she'll be there.
We'll see.
I saw a lot of people getting sniffy about that, being oh, how do you go from being the star of UFC to it's all fake? And I hate that it's all fake argument, because the athletics behind it are still incredibly impressive.
Yeah, they work really hard. I mean,
if anything, it's more impressive that they can do stuff that looks so painful in a way where it isn't that painful.
Yeah, exactly.
What were you going to say about Ronda Rousey?
I was going to say the whole thing with her, I think it's the answer to how could she go and do it is
money.
She got her ass kicked in UFC, and then very quickly realised that as soon as one person figured out how to counter Ronda Rousey, that was it.
Yeah.
So she was just well, I've got to go do something. I like Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Or I used to. I like her less with some of the stuff that's happened with her, but...
What stuff's happened?
I don't want to get into it on the show, really. We don't have time for a segment about Ronda Rousey.
Just give me the headline.
She was accused of beating some partners and stuff.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Naughty. Don't do that.
I don't know what actually became of that, so I don't want to throw shade.
Yeah. But
I just sort of stopped
allegedly,
being
just say
she's
allegedly.
So good. Yeah.
Fair enough. So yeah, we're doing WrestleMania 34. For most of our regular listeners, sorry.
Well, Sam assures me that there's going to be crossover, so hopefully
I think that's bullshit.
We'll see.
We'll see.
How do people get in contact with us, Liam?
They could tweet us at nerdonnerd. They could email us, nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com. They could Facebook us, if you just go to facebook.com/nerdonnerdpod. You can find us on YouTube. We're still in the process of uploading our older episodes. It's going great, though. There's
if
good
you've got
content
issues with
on there.
how Liam's doing that, just let him know.
Yeah, I'll ignore it. Put it this way. Yeah, my co-host has issues with how I'm doing it. If I'm not going to listen to her, why the fuck do you think I'd listen to you?
Yeah, fair point.
It's going great. Just love it. And yeah, you could just drop a comment on there or something. iTunes, you could review us and rate us, and that would really help the show somehow.
Bumps us up the rankings.
Yeah. Fuck it.
Cool. Any final thoughts?
Nah. Have you got any final thoughts?
What timeline are we in, Liam?
I don't know.
Wow. That was the Cloverfield noise. Bye.
Bye.